the worst incidents I have seen in my career have come from falling. They have been fall from heights. The reason I get so passionate about this now is that we have a tech stack that completely removes the need to put somebody on the roof for a non-invasive inspection. It is incumbent upon leaders in those spaces to recognize that risk and say, there is a better way to do this, and it's easy to mitigate.
The world of energy and the technology shaping it. I'm Josh Tate, and this is Between Two Turbines. Powered by NAES. Paul Baltadonis, welcome to the show.
I appreciate the invite. Thank you very much.
Yeah, happy to talk with you.
Yeah.
So tell me what brought you to NAES.
A really interesting set of circumstances. So had what I would think is a bold idea about how to do rooftop inspections differently with a tech stack that's unlike anything else. And I was put in proximity by either sheer dumb luck or happenstance, but ended up being in proximity to Gecko senior leadership and NAES senior leadership within a very short time frame. And had really interesting conversations with both leadership teams, and all aligned that, hey, let's go fix something in this space that people don't even see as a problem yet.
Yeah. So what's the background? I mean, what brought you to this space in general?
My whole career has been spent in a variety of manufacturing and operations types of environments, culminating, probably in the last decade or so working at Amazon, and I had responsibility for North American maintenance and engineering across the fulfillment network inside of Amazon. And in that, just recognizing that we weren't necessarily bringing all the tech that we could to bear, and we were still putting people, I'm not going to say in harm's way, that's probably not the right statement, but we were putting people at risk. Yeah, we were injecting risk into a system that, like, candidly, if we had brought better tech solutions to the space, that we just wouldn't have those folks in that position. And so, that's it's been a passion of mine. Maintenance and engineering has been a passion of mine for the better part of 30 years, and to finally not only see the tech evolve, but also the mentality around safety evolve, and then be able to combine those two things to give us insights that have never been captured before, but also remove the risk of having somebody up on a roof. Like, it's a really exciting place to be.
I think a lot about the partnership with Gecko, their ability to process data, and not just, you can get a technician out there, scan things, and I think a lot of times things degrade slowly, and as humans, maybe we don't notice, but a robot's unbiased, and what Cantilever is able to do. I'm curious what your thoughts on that are.
Well, I'm a huge believer. I was convinced about the impact of Cantilever when I first really started talking to Gecko probably a year and a half ago, and I walked through what their current technology stack was and where it was being applied. And I was very impressed, especially with the ability for capital projection. So thinking about old roles that I'd had as like a larger leader in the maintenance and engineering space, protection of capital and or deployment of capital is incredibly important in those spaces because they're finite. Like, you only have so much coming in every year, and how are you best going to deploy it? How are you best going to use it?
Right.
And so looking at what they were looking at, the data sets that they were looking at, the layers that they could compile, and then some of the diagnostics that they could pull from that.
You saw an opportunity.
Absolutely. Looked at that and went, wow, if that plays in this space that well, as far as pressure vessels and steel vessels and things like that, if we could maybe change the sensor package but gather similar, but albeit different data, and look at, like rooftop asset bases, man,
massive opportunity.
Could we make those same kinds of decisions? Could we get that same type of insight? And we absolutely can. And so now that's what you're seeing us really grow through right now is that first generation product stack and the insights that are coming from that, and ultimately getting our data sets to look very similar to the historical data sets that Gecko currently has in cantilever, so that we can get that same level of insight and same level of I would call it intelligence.
It seems like, based on your experience, the safety aspect is what ties it all together. Is there a level of personal experience in that makes that meaningful to you to know? I mean, obviously we're here, it's capitalist business. We want to make money. We see an opportunity in the market, but it seems like the safety aspect of getting people off the roof, there's an importance to that for you.
There really is. And I think you would hear this, and this would probably echo not only from current teams, but any maintenance and engineering teams that I've worked with over the course of the last 3 decades. If you're in those businesses, it is highly likely that you yourself or someone on your team has been injured through the process of working. The worst incidents I have seen in my career have come from falling. They have been fall from heights. The reason I get so passionate about this now is that we have a tech stack that completely removes the need to put somebody on the roof for a non-invasive type of test like this, or for a non-invasive inspection. It is incumbent upon leaders in those spaces to recognize that risk and say, there is a better way to do this, and it's easy to mitigate.
Yeah. So let's unpack that a bit. What StratoSight is and what's the state of things now? I mean, what do these big companies do, and why should we care about roof maintenance? I think I can guess it's overlooked, being that we're not up there all the time. And so why does this matter?
So, I mean, that's a great question, and it's something that we're finding ourselves having to educate a lot of customers on, because candidly, you don't recognize that the risk exists in the space until you react to something. And so if you were to poll, and we've done this with customer sets as it stands today, and over 50% of the folks that we've talked to, customer base-wise, when asked about current condition of roof or where are things at with regards to your asset management for rooftop systems, we get the shrug of shoulders, and okay. Well, we deal with it when it occurs. And that is the overwhelming response that comes back. And so you have a very reactive type of environment. And in maintenance and engineering, it's the absolute worst and most costly. And also, from a safety perspective, it's probably the highest likelihood of an event occurring is when you're in a reactive type of mode. You're responding to something versus having it planned, scheduled, and something that's coordinated.
Yeah. How would you say things are done now, and how is StratoSight coming in and sort of disrupting that space?
Today, as it exists, somebody will show up and deliver a report, right? They walk the roof, they deliver an analog, sometimes a digital copy of a report with a bunch of photos. And you as a maintenance manager, as a maintenance director at the facility, you react to that. And you go on more or less blind trust of what this report tells you, and you go to execute a repair strategy. And so you have to prioritize that based on worst findings, right? And you have to, what gets lost in that, and what we're trying to help change, is putting a more proactive or preventive stance in front of it, so that you protect what, in a lot of terms we call the customer experience. And so in these facilities, if you get surprised, more often than not, that leads to a customer impact. You can have damaged product, like if it decides to start leaking in the building or something. If you have enough water get onto the floor, those are robotics. You will have all kinds of robotics issues with regards to drives and faults and things, and it becomes incredibly expensive.
It's exponential.
Absolutely. And so now you have customer impact, right? You have product impact, and now you have facility impact, right? And each one of these compound in cost, and pretty soon what was probably 5 years ago a $5,000 roof fix that could have been done if we had done the right type of inspection becomes a literally hundreds of thousands of dollars event, because you impact customers, you impact product, and you impact your facility, because now you got to go clean up all the water and you got to dry out all your electronics.
It's a butterfly effect.
Absolutely. And so part of that, that was part of the genesis of the intent, right? Was to look at this and say, with the the data layers that we know we can go get from a non-invasive type of inspection, could we make people more intelligent, make better decisions earlier, so that we go spend $5,000 on a quick remediation, not $500,000 because it rained on the inside of the building and we ended up ruining a bunch of product and upsetting a lot of customers. And so, yeah, I mean, that's, for me, that's probably one of the key drivers outside of, keeping our folks safe and getting them off the roof as much as possible. The reality is the cost implications here. And the other part of that is labor. Like, a lot of folks, don't necessarily recognize the amount of manual labor involved when you're doing some of these walks. So on buildings that we're talking about, these can be 1 million to 2 million square feet in buildings. Like, it'll take 4 or 5 days sometimes for technicians to do a thorough inspection. We're done in 37 minutes on a building that size, without exaggeration. So
with
what
more
would
data points?
Absolutely. We'll take 10 times the information, give you
and as much resolution.
Absolutely.
And a 3D model.
Absolutely. Which can be used, again, when we talk about stacking on data layers and additive values. The 3D model layer, eventually, the tech stack, you're going to love this. The tech stack will have radiometric information inside of it, which will allow us to look at depth of wall, and once we have as-built or whatnot for the building itself, we can give you accurate 3D models to the point that you can use them for dimensional analysis for like permitting processes and things like that. So a lot of these companies a lot of our customers do not have as-built for their buildings. We can create those with the hyper accurate RGB models that we pull together. Like, we're able to do it now, but this will be a bona fide deliverable probably in the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
So we're super excited about where that goes.
Yeah. It's almost like an oil change. I mean, you don't have to convince people they need to change the oil in their car. And with the roof, it's like the technology we have now in partnership with Gecko and at scale, it's like, this is the oil change for your roof.
This is an MRI. And so what we're trying to compare this to is, if you think about your standard, what you see today from the vast majority of rooftop inspections, it would be somebody going up and basically, at best, giving an X-ray. We're giving you a full-blown MRI. You see everything that's going on with regards to what's underlying issues underneath the membrane, anything and everything around drains, and like all the things that the naked eye with simple, photo that you typically get from these inspections, you just cannot see. We can give you access to all of that information. And just like what you see with what Gecko provides in Cantilever for a lot of industrial complexes, it's millions of data points versus making a potentially expensive or faulty decision based on a few data points, right? We can have you make a much more intelligent decision about what you want to do and when you want to do it from a capital perspective by seeing what the underlying flaws are and starting to work to resolution far earlier than, oh no, there's a 30-foot problem that we got to go deal with. Hey, no, we know there's a half-inch hole in the membrane that if you fix right now, you don't have a 30-foot problem in 3 years.
Don't wait until the storm comes to reveal it. It seems like a no-brainer. I mean, it seems like it is the thing preventing whatever is going on in those facilities, manufacturing, product, et cetera. It's between you and the elements. I mean, it's far more important than maybe we think about.
The unfortunate circumstance that we have is, again, because the U.S. building codes are fairly robust, we take for granted the buildings around us and their live condition, right? Until there's a problem. And until water is running down the inside of one of your walls, you believe your roof is fine. And it absolutely, those systems are living. Like, there is a lot going on in any given day, from the thermal changes, from cold to heat, to rain to wind, all those things. And they do. There's an annual inspection routine that should be provided. And I mean, we're partnering with, insurance companies as well to really try to not only educate, but try to move quickly into this space to help folks see the value. This is a super cheap insurance policy.
Yeah, and I think any business, surprises are about as unwanted as anything.
100%.
And this very easily prevents surprises.
It's funny that you say that, because Mark and I were talking about this maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and one of his realizations that I hadn't really come to was I worked to develop a product solution for a problem that I personally was trying to solve. And so the definition became clear, the execution became clear, because I was trying to solve this to do exactly what you're talking about. As a GM at Amazon specifically, the last thing you wanted was to be surprised with a $50,000, $100,000 bill for something getting found that you did not know about. And so that was always what was happening. I felt like it was always a shock. And so I was getting surprised.
Whack-a-mole.
Yeah, and I was surprising my boss, and that's literally what we called it. You're playing whack-a-mole. That's all you're doing is just constantly chasing something. And so this was an intent to try and remove a little bit of that chaos and say, if I could step outside of, you know, your typical day in a life of a GM, right? Let's step outside of that, look at the big show. What is the number one thing, right, that we have responsibility for? And that's your building. Well, the most underserved, you know, asset class in that building is the roof. And these buildings, on average, you know, across logistics and distribution, these things are 15, 20, 25 years old. Right. Average, you know, roof span meant to be 15 years. If it's not properly maintained, that's a 7 to 10 year lifespan on those.
So
roofs.
there's roofs all across the U.S. and beyond that are degrading as we speak, and are waiting for a product like this.
Absolutely. Just in, you know, North America, just in logistics, distribution, and buildings of that type of classification, you're looking at 120 billion square feet. Like there's a massive opportunity out there that folks are walking right past. And so I would encourage anyone who happens to you know, see this or be interested, like, think about your product, think about your customer, and think about the impact of a surprise.
Yeah,
And
shut down the facility,
why
affect
would we
the
do
product.
that?
I mean,
Absolutely.
delayed deliveries, etc. I think in power plants, you know, if maintenance doesn't go right, that unplanned outage, you're incurring massive fees. I mean, the grid is fragile in a lot of ways, and so very similarly, a roof, which can be overlooked. That even if you had a great technician up there, maybe everything looks good from the surface, but what we're doing is it's beyond that.
Absolutely. And that is the number one driver here is, I think all of us who've been in this space for a while, you've received the legacy reports, we'll call it. And so you've got those photos. You know, technicians gone up there, they've walked around. They usually take, on a big building, they'll take 4 or 5 days to do this thing. Take a bunch of photos.
what are you really looking at? You're looking at a white, you know,
and I mean,
substrate.
and to give those technicians credit, they do see, like, you know, what we call nail pops, and they'll see split seams, and they'll take pictures of it. And tell
but
you
the
what's happening.
holistic image of
Absolutely,
what
to give
these
you
drones
a
can do.
really strong, like, understanding, and like geospatial is a major issue. Being able to geotag every one of these defects. And so, again, it's the application of resources. So not just capital, but if you're going to put a tech on the roof to affect a repair, being able to send them to a specific geotag that's within, you know, 6 to 8 inches of wherever the defect is, that is not what these legacy reports gave us. I know, I received them. So they would come in and you would get pictures of just countless images of defects and say northwest corner of building. Okay, and it's a 1 million square foot building, northwest corner, great. That's one of 4, so we're going to go find it. And now you've got this massive triage area that you're trying to find this one defect.
A setup like that would just make the decision-making process not so timely, I imagine.
Absolutely, and so and it also becomes invasive and potentially destructive because you may not fix the right one, but while you're doing that, you may do an invasive procedure to an area that didn't need to be touched.
Yeah, and
so
how often does that happen where you're pulling it up and it's probably was fine for another 5 years?
So now you have 2 defects that you're chasing. And so, again, going after this with multiple data layers and allowing folks to see what their eyes can't see allows us to be very targeted in the approach to repairs, but also allows you, you know, as a customer to facilitate the capital expenses needed over time. So you can prioritize. We know we have this, we know we have this, we know we have this. Well, you can't do them all because money is not infinite. So what is the most strategic approach? And our software will help you determine, based on severity, what is the best targeted approach for your capital needs.
it only makes sense, I think, with NAES's history and what we're known for, and that something like StratoSight is a natural fit.
I absolutely believe so, and especially as our tech stack grows. So right now, flying the Gen 1 aircraft with the Gen 1 sensor payloads, there's a couple of data layers, right? You're looking at what we call RGB or photogrammetric imagery, as well as thermal. What's coming are far more advanced sensor suites with regards to optical gas inspection, so we can look for leaks for ammonia cooling systems and stuff.
So we're just getting started.
Absolutely. And so the tech stack that's going to be built over the course of the next 12 to 18 months is phenomenal. We're going to have multiple sensor payload capacities that are going to allow for, like when we talk about MRI, this thing's going to be an MRI in 3D. It's fantastic. I'm so excited about what the future stack looks like and what that value will be, because we'll be able to do, again, non-intrusive inspections on all asset classifications on a roof. It's not just the roof. You're talking about HVAC, you're talking about switchgear, you're talking about photovoltaics if they're up on the roof mount, fire life safety systems, lightning arrest. Like all of those things can be inspected from the air, not have to put anybody on the ground.
So it removes a lot of a trust barrier of, with the technician, you have to make sure, does this individual person stack up to who we have, next state over, or in this way, the continuity's there and these customers can see for themselves.
100%. And we encourage that. We encourage, a live inspection is absolutely wanted, needed. If that's, we are extremely confident in the quality of the deliverable that comes from the tech that we're putting out there. And we welcome anyone to come in and absolutely
scrutinize it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not so much to, say, hey, ours is better than anybody else's. It's help us learn. Like if you find a defect that we didn't find, or if one proves to be a false positive, we have to know that, because eventually all of this is feeding a machine learning system, so that this is no longer, individual folks laying individual eyes on each defect. We will have a system that's doing this autonomously. And so again, when I talk about, what's coming in 9 to 12 months or so, our first crack at ML is underway. And so what we're feeding into the system now in Cantilever is helping to start building that history.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like the future.
I hope so. We're extremely bullish on it. Like we are very excited about what we've seen so far, and the customer response so far to what we've both executed and delivered, as far as not only so one customer came, we had just an individual story, had a customer call us with a use case that we were not prepared for. They had a minor roof collapse, and so they had a membrane collapse into the building, and they asked us very quickly, hey, could you put a team together and get up here and fly this, because we can't go on the roof, it's unsafe, we don't know what we have. And so all of a sudden, what we thought we had for basically a business case or a business model, this was something completely out of our wheelhouse. Team responded amazingly, executed inside of 48 hours, and gave them insights that in no way could they have had, because of the tech stack that we have that shows elevation. And so you could very quickly see how deformed the roof was, expanding well outside of what they thought that current defect was. So you had a collapse, but 30 to 40 feet outside of that, you could see tension being brought into all the other supporting members of the roof. And so it armed them with information they never would have had otherwise, and it helped their shoring plans, it helped their engineering firm really start to get into how do we go ahead and get into this safely and get this thing corrected. So we were super excited about that, and the customer came back with just a pretty glowing praise of there's no way that we would have had any idea that any of this was going on without that particular type of data set. And so now that's becoming something that we want to educate our customers on. Hey, this exists. You may not have a need for it today. You may not even know that it is a need, but here's something that we have found throughout time. And it's been an eye-opening experience to see it at other buildings, and to see how elevation changes matter on a roof system, because you can check a variety of different things, specifically how water moves. But the bigger thing is looking for tautness, and if you see these weird deformities in certain areas, you can tell where water's ponding, but there's no staining. it's been really fun to use the tech to gain insights that, like, most of us have been doing this for 30 years. And all of a sudden, you know, in the last 6 months, we have this tech stack that's, our heads are just like blown. Wow, that's amazing. Had no idea.
Kind of tying it back to what you said earlier on, some of your previous roles, I find for myself, working for a company that I feel is helping society in some way. I mean, this is a problem that is hard to solve, and this can make it so much easier. And this customer you just mentioned, I don't see them going back to the way they were doing things before.
I would absolutely agree with that. And I mean, the momentum with that particular customer would absolutely align with what you just said. I believe they see the value in the tech, and they understand that new day, new way. Like, there is a better way to do this, and using, you know, the insights that can be gained from an advanced technology stack, we'd be remiss as leaders if we weren't doing that.
Yeah, it's more than just a business for you, it sounds like.
It absolutely is. Like, and fundamentally, part of the reason I came to the NAES team, you know, after the conversations with Mark and others, was the overall mission of NAES and the impact, right? And so I felt, and you know, I loved my time at Amazon. There's no disparity or anything like that, or no disparagement there. But
you're solving a problem in the market as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like NAES, so in energy, NAES is helping to do that, right? And there's a massive footprint. There's a massive opportunity to be a company that helps to solve a very major problem. And this, I believe, StratoSight is a small piece of what NAES can offer as a full, you know, complement of resources. And we can solve a very big problem across, you know, an incredibly large, you know, opportunity. So yeah, I'm really excited about where this is headed, and I'm really excited that
it's just the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. I fundamentally believe it.
I'm excited to follow up in the future. It seems like there's a lot of activity and there's a lot of opportunity.
I agree. I would love to have another one of these conversations in 6 to 12 and be able to walk you through some of the deliverables, because yeah, we're definitely just getting started.
Cool. Well, thanks for sitting down. Appreciate it. And yeah, I look forward to what's coming next.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate the time. Thank you.